Hello. Hey everyone. I hope you can see me well. Just starting up live, so just give me a second. Let me just get settled and everything. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you guys for tuning in, wherever you all are tuning in. I see some from Tanzania, one from China. What's up? How are you all doing? My name is Benjamin Fernandes. This is pretty cool to do a Facebook live session. I've never done one before. I am based out of Seattle, Washington. This is where I'm working for the summer. I've been here since June 13, 2016. I'm working here at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I really like Tanzania because it's given me my happiness, I could say. It's given me what excites me, what gets me up in the morning and going. It's what I think about the most. It's what I really look forward to in learning about, and I definitely feel, I would say, obligated to fill some big shoes that have been set before me. Definitely easy answer for me, it's financial services. So I've definitely been spending a lot of time recently trying to understand the financial services market in Tanzania, looking at it's completely changed our economy, giving us new opportunities to deliver wealth and share wealth around the country. For example, there's 67% of Tanzanians are registered mobile users. Of the 67% who are registered mobile users, 83% use mobile money as their prime source of transferring wealth. More than half of our monthly GDP is exchanged over mobile money. This means that there's a lot of data there, a lot of different people sending money from the regions to the city. Actually, 76% of Tanzanians live in the rural regions, so it creates this platform and allows people to transfer wealth from across different areas. And so I definitely think there's a huge opportunity for growth there. It excites me because one thing about Tanzania, I think it's the most exciting country for mobile financial inclusion development, because we don't have really one monopoly on who controls the mobile market industry. We have several different players in the mobile market industry, and basically creates this spread of wealth, and it's not one company dominating everything. I also think because everything is so new, there's a lot of regulation that it's a regulation land, like gold mine, or I don't know if you'd say gold mine, but it's a minefield, definitely, for sure, because you don't know how to regulate, let's say, consumption or usage, or how the banks should be involved. And because everything is so new, you don't want to kill the banks through mobile money usage, but you also want to allow people to have accessibility to it. So that's definitely something that interests me a lot. So I'm going to interpret that as saying, why do you think Tanzanians, like, maybe, let's say, don't focus too much on sports? I think it's an easy answer for me. I don't think that there's been a great example for us set forward of, let's say, somebody doing really, really well or really, really great. I think that there are a lot of brilliant athletes in Tanzania, and some of them never get the opportunity to practice or hone their skills more and more, because families might value education more, or, let's say, going out in the farms more. And if this creates a difficult cycle, because when somebody's trying to do well or start a trend, or not even start a trend, but perform well in sports and remind all the other kids or anybody who would like to focus on sport as their main passion, that there's not been somebody who set a clear example with this. I'd like to give you a specific example. When Hashim Thabit, who went to UConn, a Tanzanian, and went to play for the NBA, when he got into the NBA, there was this really big push in our country for Tanzanians to get involved in sports and athleticism. And I think that really helped us, because we started seeing a more and more push and support from the government. There were more and more basketball hoops created. around the country, and there are many different people who are given the opportunity and accessibility to go out and play sports in whatever kind or type of way that they wanted to. And so I'm also happy of the new project that they've done, the Jakare Kukwete like sports park. I think that's going to really help kids and young adults get involved more and more in sports and athletics, and create an opportunity for them to grow and learn in the sport and the things they want to do. If you ask me, I think there's a firm alignment between sports and education. I think that if a sports facility is able to train students academically well as train them physically as they're performing, I think there's no better than alignment than that in growth, in my opinion, for a person. Okay, another question. I've got Bilal over here sending me a question. What do you think are the biggest challenges for young people in Tanzania? Oh wow, I really like this question. So to give you some more perspective, in Tanzania, 67% of our youth are under the age of 24. Think about that for a moment. That means that's 34 million people are under the age of 24. So if you're 25, that means you're older than 70% of the population. Isn't that crazy? So I think even at a young age, you're a large space of influence, and also at the age, with all these different people, you have such a large youthful population, and unfortunately, a lot of them might not have the same opportunities across the board. It's just definitely the situations that they've grown up in, and I think one of my difficult frustrations with a lot of our youth, which is I think really sad, but I don't want this to come across wrong, but I want you to be careful how you interpret what I'm about to say. But I think we get very complacent, and I say we because I feel like I'm included in that. I think I get really sad seeing youth on the streets trying to do well, but not wanting to put in the work to do well. I don't think I hear a lot. I remember when I was living in Tanzania last year, before leaving in August 2015, somebody had mentioned like, oh, money should be easy, or we're struggling because our family situations. No, I get it. I completely get that, and I respect that. But I think that there are a lot of opportunities that us as Tanzanians take for granted or don't focus on to become better. Like a lot of places, like even locally, that we could go and learn new skills and do well for ourselves. Now you might ask me like, oh, what is a person going to do? So what's one of the first things that somebody does when they get money in Tanzania? Like so somebody who's living in let's say a rural area, or I spent some time in a few regions when I was working in the TV industry, and like the first thing young people would do when they get money, think about it. What do you think they would do? A lot of them would spend it on alcohol consumption. Now, alcohol is expensive, of course, and I don't want to disrespect any alcohol company that might be watching, but what I want you to know is, I think, a lot of them, you have low means, and the first thing you're spending on is alcohol. I personally don't think that's a right first thing to spend on. I always talk about, Madi said shopping, another person said they spend it on materialistic things. Yeah, basically that. I think shopping, but specifically in shopping, I think it's alcohol, and that's very difficult because my take with financial, like my own finances, is if it's in lacking, you don't need to spend it excessively, or not even excessively, but for things that you might not need, because there's a big difference between a need and a want. And I think wisdom is the ability to discern difference, and when you're able to discern the difference between those two things, I think there's a very clear message that should send to you mentally. And so that's my hard thing. That's the difficulty when I see people on the streets. But like, even when they get handed money or something like that, it's very hard for me to justify them when they go and buy alcohol instead of investing into that something into their own life. And so, by the way, for all of you who are joining right now, feel free to send me some more questions in the dialogue box. Also, before I forget, and I'd like to give a big thank you to Given and the entire MyElimu team for putting this together. It's the first take at a speaker series they want to continue, and I've been very fortunate to be selected as the first speaker for them, and so I really appreciate this. I think this is a step in the right direction for us and for youth to help each other. So thank you guys so much for allowing me to have this opportunity to share with you. Okay, another question. I think this is a very big question and very broad as well, but I think one of the things I would like to take this answer with is I think that its ability to prepare and plan and make sure that you are ready for something that you are going to take a risk to do. I love risk takers, and I think some of the most successful people in our world are risk takers, and I'm all about it. And a lot of my close friends know that there's one saying I always tell them because it's something somebody once told me. It's actually my mom told me when I was a young boy. My mom always said, "What do you have to lose?" And I think that's a really powerful sentence. What do you have to lose? Because I think too often we get scared of getting turned down and somebody saying no. But if somebody says no, is that I mean, what did you lose? You lose nothing. You were just asked, you know. Of course, I've been turned down many different times in my life, and that's okay. It's okay to be turned down. It's okay for somebody to say no, and you didn't make it, or you didn't do it well. That's completely fine. And I think that it's important for us to know that if we don't ask, we're not going to get. And you know, it's simple. You know, definitely something you probably heard at a young age, but I think sometimes we tend to forget and don't take that so seriously. And yeah, I think it's wise if you just keep asking. So for example, even at work here, I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes my boss is like, "Wow, like you're very bold," and because my take with it is, you know, someone says no, cool, they say no, but if you never ask, you'll never know, and you'll have this question in your head, what if, you know. A question I had the other day, somebody asked me was, how did you feel applying to Stanford Business School as a young person? So for those of you who don't know, I'm 23 years old. I attend Stanford Graduate School of Business. And I knew that even if I got rejected, would I have known that if I didn't apply? Like, I never thought I would, you know, honestly, I never thought I would get in. But you know, you're in a room full of so much energetic, stimulated brilliance, and all these people who want to make the world a better place. And I personally never qualified myself as one of those people. And I didn't think I had a strong shot of getting in. I didn't think I was academically capable of getting in. But then that question comes about: what do you have to lose? You know. So I give it a shot, and this is where I am today. And I definitely think that a lot of those things were ingrained into me at a young age. And a question that we had earlier was, what do you wish you would have known at a younger age? And so here are some of the things. So one, I said, what do you have to lose? Two, the second thing I wish I knew at a younger age is not everybody knows it all, you know? I always thought that, especially, I have a lot of respect for older people, because older people means they have a lot of experience and they've been through a lot more in life. And I always try to learn as much as I can from people who are way more experienced than I am. I try to, you know, ask questions, learn and absorb what they have to share. But one thing you have to understand is we're all learning. We're consistently learning. We're human beings. We're consistently exploring different things and figuring out new things for ourselves. And I love that. I love that ability that, you know, even though you don't know it all, it's okay. It's okay to have that assurance saying, okay, I don't know it all, but I'm happy to learn it. That's definitely something I wish I knew at a younger age. Another thing I wish I knew was not to be afraid. I definitely think as a young Tanzanian, in high school or in many different places that I went, I was definitely afraid of like stepping up. I was definitely afraid of making a mistake. I was definitely afraid of, you know, participating in anything, because let's say I never thought I'd be good enough. I never thought I'd be a good athlete. I never thought I'd be a good at something, and that also pushed me away from trying. So I never tried to be good at that. And I remember when I moved to undergrad for the first time in Minnesota, to give you some history and some open honesty over here. So I went to Haven Peace Academy earlier, and for high school. And by the time I was graduating my senior year of high school, so we're graded on the British syllabus. So we graded A, B, C, D, E, F, and then U. U means so low below F that they didn't grade your paper, or as our teachers used to say, ungraded. And I get my results, and it's 2 D's and 2 U's. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, you know, literally the lowest in your class. And I said, okay, how am I supposed to do anything with this? I've done really bad academically, and how am I supposed to, you know, where am I supposed to go? Like, I failed, literally, I failed. And the university in America was where my sister was attending. I have an older sister, Bernice. She's also on this line, hey. And we had tried to figure out a way to get me there, and they said, okay, we'll let you in on condition that you do well. And I said I'll take it. And one of the biggest things and what's strongest in my life is my faith, and I value my faith over everything that I do. And I said, when I'm moving to America for the first time, I said, God, I believe I'm going to be the head and not the tail, and I believe I'll be the first and not the last. And that's a hard thing to say, yet alone believe. And I said, no, I believe I could do it, because I went from being lost in my high school, and I'm going to this new country, it's a new place, and I said, okay, I'm in a new place, I get to learn a lot of new things and get to learn a lot of new opportunities that are available for me, and I want to do well. If I've been fortunate enough to be given a second chance, I knew I couldn't blow it this time. And so what I did was I got to school and I said, God, I want you to help me here, but also I needed to focus academically, because if I wanted to be the head, I had to believe that I could be the head, you know. And so focus academically, and in 4 years I was the top graduate at the University of Northwestern. I had a lot of straight A's, straight A minuses, A's and A minuses all the way through on my transcript, and graduated with national honors and, you know, dean's list all the way through. But this is definitely something that I wouldn't have realized or believed that I was capable of doing, for sure. Like this guy from Tanzania, first generation in college, you know, and just trying to do well, and I never thought it was something that I was capable of doing. And I think that opened up the door and made me realize that, you know, I could definitely really do whatever, even if people, like, you know, whatever I could do within my means, even if people said that I couldn't do it. And I realized I was in classes and I was here involved in all these different activities, but still able to perform academically well. And that's when I realized, maybe this is something I really want to push forward in doing, and maybe this is something I want to use as a way of influencing a younger generation of Tanzanians who might need the same encouragement. So that's definitely something I looking back, I feel very fortunate for that experience. Okay. By the way, for those of you tuning in on Facebook Live, feel free to post your comments and questions in the screen below. Big shout out to the people who are tuning in right now. Sajad, Saris, Zara, Lily, Bernice, Emmanuel, Christopher, and many other people tuning in right now. Given Edward, thank you guys so much for the questions and for this opportunity to give me this platform to share with you. A question I have here is, and thank you guys for all the messages also, it's pretty funny reading them. There's a lot of pressure, I feel. Please, I apologize if I butcher your name over here. It's from Chris Makatobe. Chris Makatobe is from Moshi, Tanzania. One of my favorite places in the world. I actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last summer. Chris is asking me, what do I believe the Tanzanian youth should look onto in the future? Chris, thank you for your question. I think one of the biggest gaps that we have with our youth is human capacity development, and I think that's in a wide range of different things, because a lot of people, let's be honest, we've looked at our results from, let's say, the number of people who pass Form 4. It's very low. I think that whole educational sector needs many different changes that need to go on. I give a big push in support of President Magufuli and his team and the people behind him in various ministries and what they're trying to do in Tanzania. I have a lot of respect for that. I think I would push more into figuring out ways to help young people, especially young Tanzanians in the educational sector, because here's my thoughts. If so many people aren't completing Form 4, or let's say failing Form 4, I think there's two problems here. I think it starts back because, let's say, if 2 or 3 people were failing, all right, maybe they didn't perform academically well, they didn't put their efforts in. But if so many people are failing, let's say more than half of the people trying are failing, I think that there might be something wrong in our own system, in what we're doing as a people group, and in what our educational system is looking like. I read in the World Bank Development Report the other day that 63% of Tanzanian teachers don't even show up to their classes. And that's really sad, because without the teachers, how are you going to learn? And there's not enough books for people, there's not enough, things for tutors or platforms for people to go and learn many different things. And I think that makes it really, really hard for people who are trying to get into different spaces and get into different job opportunities that are available for them. I find it really sad. I tutor a lot of young Tanzanians between the ages of, let's say, 16 to 32. A lot of them, Form 4, which is 10th grade dropouts, or let's say didn't perform academically well. Form 3, Form 4, and dropped out because their family says, well, you didn't perform well, you're done, go out and work. And I think that's a difficult challenge that we have as Tanzanians, and that's very hard. Personally, I believe in training programs and figuring out ways to instill passions in people and getting them to do what they really like doing. For example, I really like video, I like television, and my sister Bernice and I, we used to run this training program teaching people how to do video broadcasting. It was really, really cool to see the amount of people who would like to do that and like to learn, and I was always inspired every time I'd go into the office, because you'd see all these people who just were driven so much to have this opportunity to learn something that they really like doing. And that excites me, because it gave me hope of our future generation of Tanzanians. And even though some of us are complacent, but I think there's a lot of us who really want to do well with our lives. One of the things I definitely think that we're lacking is mentorship. I think there needs to be a larger sense of alignment between mentorship between the older people who are doing well and the young people. I think I would like to develop some sort of program for the people to tie people together, because if we don't have mentors in our life, how are we supposed to learn? Whether it's a spiritual mentor, whether it's a work mentor, or somebody who's pushing you on or encouraging you, I think that it's important for us to have mentors in our life, and people who are very supportive of the work that we do and the things that we want to do in our careers. Okay, I'll take some more questions. Looking at my thing over here. Just give me. Okay, this is a very important question. What kind of friends do you have, and how do you trust them? That's from Eliudi. So Eliudi, thank you for your contribution. What kind of friends do I have? I feel like I have multiple types of friends. I have friends in different locations. Emmanuel Christopher, man, I had to get on top of the roof to get the good internet and watch this. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I know it's late in Tanzania, so I appreciate you staying with me. So what kind of friends do I have? I think a lot of the things that I look at friends, foreign friends, is people I can trust. Trust is the biggest thing. Trust and communication are the two biggest factors for me when I look into what kind of friends I have in my own life. If I have friends I can trust and share personal things with, and don't feel like they would pull me away, or where I wouldn't feel, let's say, more harm for sharing things with them versus actually supporting them. Those are the friends I really admire, because I feel like I could learn a lot from friends. Trust is a really big thing for me, that I've defined some of my ways of like how much I can trust somebody with is, let's say, for example, I'm giving an example here. So let's say somebody asks me for 10,000 shillings, which in American terms, 10,000 shillings is $5. And I give them 10,000 shillings. I will never ask for it back. But if I watch though, like if they, because the way they ask me, they'll be like, hey, can I borrow 10,000 shillings? I'll pay you back. I'll say, cool. I give them the money, and if I don't get paid back, I won't ask for it. But it just gives me another thought process or thing in my mind saying, okay, if you're not faithful with my own money and this little money, what are you going to do when, let's say, something else comes up in the future? The second thing I said was communication. Like if that same person would have told me like, hey, you know, maybe I'm tight right now, but I'll get back to you soon, that would have been much better. But people who go quiet, I think that's where the whole trust question comes in line. And so trust and communication are my two biggest factors when I look for people I trust. I definitely think we should all find a group of like maybe one or two friends in our lives that can support us, whether it's challenges. I love friends that challenge me because it makes me want to do better. And I think whenever you see a child doing well, I think a lot of their values are instilled from their family or their parents who have put that into them. So yeah, I have another question here from Frank. Frank said, Tanzania education lagged behind MDGs, and through the present government it is trying to anticipate for future education. What do you think about this? I think this is a huge place that they definitely should invest into, because I think we're very late, you know, to be honest. Like as I mentioned before, we have such a youthful population. You know, 67% of our population is under the age of 24. There's a huge gap there. And this age, 34 million people, are going to be our working age and our main resources that the country is going to be relying on to bring in wealth and distribution of wealth in the future. And if we're an uneducated generation leading uneducated people, it's going to create the cycle of poverty to continue, and like that hurts me to know. And so I'm all for pushing education. I appreciate platforms like MyElimu. I appreciate platforms around Tanzania that bring students together from many different places and say, hey, I know this is what society has said, or let's say we don't have all these opportunities that other schools have or other people have, but let's do with what we can do and find ways to make ourselves better. I love that. I think that's very beautiful, and I think I'm in all support of that. Like, if there's any way that I could be of use, that's why I told Given when I was doing this, like I would love to help other fellow Tanzanians coming up, and if there's any way I could be some sort of like mentor towards them. You know, as I said, I still don't know it all, and I know that I don't have all the answers, but I'm happy to help in any way that I can. Okay. Another question I have here is, what do you think about vulnerabilities? Oh, I love this question. From one of my classmates at Stanford. So vulnerabilities is when somebody shares like something really personal, and like let's say something that they might not want many people to publicly know about, but it maybe like, I don't know, it's just, I'm not a dictionary, but Tali Andaman, Benji, will you be my mentor? Oh gosh, hi Tali. Vulnerabilities, I think this also defines a lot of my close friends and my relationships with them. It's my ability or their ability to be vulnerable around me, or me to be able to be vulnerable around them and say, hey, you know what, I'm struggling with this. Like, one of the big things I really enjoy about my classmates at Stanford is, I remember the first week when I moved in and I started hearing this person did this, or this person did that, or this person, it's all these things. And I started to think, I was like, wow, how in the world did I get in? And I started to really question my academic ability and my ability to perform, not perform, my ability to, let's say, my ability to be there. Like I started to say, like, how did I even get in? And one of the things over the course of time that I learned from my classmates was, even though these are people I looked up to, there are a lot of people who would come up to me and say, like, hey Benji, I'm struggling with this math class. And in my head, I'm like, you? Like, you're somebody like I look up to so much, and I put on this pedestal as up here, and for you to be able to share that with me was something that made me question. I was like, wow, I love that. And I've definitely been able to I've definitely been able to use that in my own personal life. And I think there's so much power in vulnerability and telling people that, I don't know, or I failed at this. And it just creates this beautiful sense of togetherness and support system that I've never imagined before. So like, when even at work, when my boss tells me, hey, can you build this model or something like that, and I don't know how to build it, I could easily pretend I know how to build it, and I could easily go on Google and try to figure it out and go and ask friends. But I think when I share with my boss and say, hey, I don't know how to do this, or I would like to learn how to do this, maybe I didn't learn this that well, my boss completely changes and comes into this place of like a teacher student versus a boss employee standpoint. And it's so nice to see when bosses come alongside you and do that. And I think it's important because everything we know today is because somebody else has imparted that knowledge on us. And what I feel like our obligation is to impart that on to the next generation or other people who are coming before you, because it's easy to become complacent in the positions that you are in, and I think a lot of us do that. And one of the difficult things and the things that you have to know is one day that kid who looked up to you is going to be you, or be in the same position as you are, and you're going to question like, wow, like, that's you played a big part of that, and that's something to be very proud of. Okay, I have a question from Emmanuel Christopher. Ben, how do you see the future of professionalism in Tanzanian universities? I definitely think, first of all, we need way more universities than we do have. I think the level of professionalism, the bar right now needs to be pushed much higher. I think we've got a lot of brilliant people, some brilliant professors at the University of Dar es Salaam and different universities around Tanzania. I love SUA University in Morogoro. I think they do great work with agriculture. And I think like if I wanted to get in agriculture, that's a prime place. I would send somebody with all the on-hands, on-ground training that you're getting over there. I definitely think that sometimes, like, for example, about a year and a half ago, I was asked to be a lecturer at the University of Dar es Salaam. And I was like, I started to question myself, and actually I started to question the school's level of professionalism, because I don't have a PhD. I don't have any of my I didn't feel like I was qualified enough to teach a certain subject matter because I didn't master it. I feel like lecturers need to be masters in the things that they're like teaching about, because you're imparting knowledge onto a next generation of people, and you can't talk about something that you don't know about. And so I respectfully declined, and I said I don't feel like I'm qualified for this position yet. And that's definitely something that I find difficult, because whenever you call somebody to be a lecturer and they have no experience or expertise in the field that they're teaching on, then what are you really teaching? And I think that's a question that we got to ask ourselves. And Emmanuel, when you talk about level of professionalism in Tanzanian universities, I think that's something we can work on as a people group. Can you hear me now? I don't know. It's everybody can hear me okay, right? Just making sure, because I think I can hear myself okay, but just let me know if you can't hear me. So another question, let me go to my list of questions here. So many questions for shout outs. Thank you guys so much for questions for shout outs. Okay, some questions coming on Twitter. By the way, the hashtag for today is Dawati la MyElimu. As I mentioned earlier, it's a speaker series that we're working on with MyElimu to try and get going. So thank you guys so much. Okay, I'm getting a lot of thumbs up, so I'm assuming that means that you guys can hear me well. So one of the things I really like to think about, especially for young Tanzanians, is the ability to push yourself. I think there are a lot of Tanzanians out there who are given opportunities that they might not realize that are opportunities. For example, one thing I really don't like, though, even with the technology space, there's a lot of Tanzanian coders coming up, and I love that. I love Tanzi ICT, COSTECH, Buni Hub, Kinu Hub, for pushing Tanzanians to get involved in technology. I think it's a huge place and a very important place for us to get involved in. But one thing I don't like is that when people look at other applications and so on, let's say in first world countries, and try to develop them exactly the same, or let's say develop another Facebook. Come on, there's a lot more things that you can develop. One of the things I would like to encourage you to look at is opportunities that haven't been pushed on. Like, somebody was trying to build like a service for television, like live TV on your mobile devices. There's already a few that do that really well. And so one of the things I'd push you to do is, why don't you create the Uber for Bajajis? You know, find a way to connect people through smartphones, like Android devices. You can use location tracking over there. You can pay through M-Pesa. You know, you can find ways to build platforms like that. Why can't we do that? Why can't we look at problems that we have in our own country? Why can't we look at issues like, let's say there's a food delivery service, but created for the local companies. Let's say a neighborhood food delivery service. You know, there's many things like that we could add on. We could create value from that. Let's say you're a motorcycle driver. Why don't you, instead of just driving your motorcycle, create a service to deliver food to your neighbors? You know, let's say you live near a restaurant and you work with the restaurant, or Mama Ntilia, you tell them like, hey, you know, I'd like to work with you, or people can call me and place orders, and I'd like to take, you know, even though you don't have a smartphone or anything, you have a phone, you have a motorcycle, that's all you need. And that way you're creating more value, and whenever you hear the word value, it means more finances. So whenever you create more value, you create more finances. If you create more finances, you're doing better for yourself than you were before. There are a lot of things that even many there's a lot of ways that you can capture value that a lot of us go by and don't even think about. For example, being the middleman. I know in Tanzania, this middleman thing is a big deal. For example, when you're looking for a house, you go find an agent who finds you a house, and the agent says, hey, you know, hey, like let's if I find your house, you're gonna pay me 1 month's rent or whatever. That same concept can be used in anything, literally anything. I'll give you an example. So let's say so this is what I used to do actually. So I went and built relationships with a lot of printer companies in Tanzania. So I went to every single printer company in Tanzania, big printer company, and I said, hey, you know, I'd like to establish a good working relationship with you. I want your best rates. And then what I used to do is, whenever the printer companies would send me their rates, I would tell them, oh, this company gave me this rate, you gave me this rate, so I'm gonna go with this company. Or like negotiate that deal. And that way you get the lowest deal that you can possibly get. And then what would I do with that? I would go to a big vendor, a big company. I won't mention names here, but I'd go to a big company and I'd say, hey, this is the I would like to print, let's say, your 10,000 flyers for Sabasaba for the trade convention. 10,000 flyers or whatever, 50,000 flyers, whatever they'd want. And I'd tell them, hey, you know, I'll print this at a price that you can never beat. And they'd be like, no, we'll get it for much cheaper. So I'll list the price so low, including my markup. Let's say it was 50 shillings to print a flyer, one page, whatever. I'd make it 80 shillings, you know, or 100 shillings. The price that they were getting as a company, going individually to one company that they always worked with, was maybe 200 shillings. So already I'm saving them 120 shillings, and they were happy. What does this mean? Every single deal that would come in, I would be getting the deal. And that's such a simple way for me to earn the money, even though, what did I have? I had a cell phone and I had an email, and that's all I used. you know, to close these deals. And so I think us as Tanzanians, we've got to start looking at ways to create value from different things or different abilities that we have. One of the biggest struggles I have with a lot of my fellow Tanzanians is truthfulness. I really don't like when somebody comes into a job to interview for it, and then they lie about everything. And like the moment you lie about something, you lose all your credibility in it. And it's really sad, because I understand the premise and where you're coming from, because you want to prove yourself to be qualified for a job maybe, let's say, you aren't qualified for. But I think there's a lot of beauty in sharing the truth of where you're really at. I'll give you an example. As I said, I'm 23. I'm working here at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Am I qualified to be in this place? I don't think so. No. I don't think I am. How did I get here? I just shared the truth. I told the person, this is a place that I believe in its mission and values, and it's a place in a company that I want to stand for and work for, because its mission values of all lives having equal values aligned to my own as a person. And I said, if there's any way that I only have one son in the United States, I would stand for anything to be working at this organization in the future. And me having that open, honest conversation, I'm not saying this is perfect career advice for everyone, so please don't get me wrong, but I think I'd rather say that than make up a fake lie and pretend I know things that I don't know. You know? Like, that's very important. Like, I find so much beauty and truth into sharing honest things and sharing with each other, like saying, hey, you know, like, I don't know it, and I don't have all the answers, and I don't know it all, and that's good, and that's fine, because, you know, when somebody sees that you're actually telling them the truth, and you're actually acknowledging the fact that you don't know it all, I think there's so much beauty in that, and people look at you differently. Instead of assuming that you're this kind of person, they appreciated the fact that you were honest with them, and I think that's taken me and opened a lot of doors for me as an individual, and I think that's something I definitely like to let other people know. By the way, for those of you joining on Facebook right now, feel free to post your questions on here. Habari yako Miko, hey Francesca, what's up Joel, Ashton. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my messages from Twitter. What do I want to do when I grow up? Great question. So I want to move back to Tanzania after. I would like to get a policy degree after my business degree, and then I'd like to move back to Tanzania. I'd like to move back to Tanzania. Why? I know a lot of people ask me this question. A lot of people, especially my fellow Tanzanians in the United States, for those of you watching out here, this message is for you. I remember when I graduated undergrad university in Minnesota, I was offered 2 large offers for job opportunities, and a lot of my classmates who were with me know these offers. And one of the offers included a green card and opportunity to live in the United States for, you know, basically the rest of my life. And I said, I respectfully declined. I said no. And the guy who had been a VP at this big company in the United States, he looked at me and he said, are you sure? He's like, I've been in this position for 20 years and I've never had somebody deny such a large offer. And I said yes. And he was confused at why I would turn down an offer like that. And I said, look, I feel indebted to my country, and I feel like I have many things that even with just a bachelor's degree I could share with other people in my local environment, in the place that I grew up. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up moving back to Tanzania, and I said, okay, let me figure out a way to help other young people come up, because if somebody opened the door for me, I felt obligated to pay that forward to the next group of Tanzanians. But when I decided to go back to Tanzania, a lot of my fellow Tanzanians, even in the United States, were asking me, like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, even when I came home, people were saying, oh, umefeli, which means you failed, or like, you didn't do well in America, that's why you're sent back home. And like, I got a lot of this like messaging, and people were like telling me like, oh, why did you go home, or like, you know. And I knew what my purpose was. I knew that I felt obligated, and I knew that I felt that I needed to support an incoming generation of young people, and that's what I went home to do. But over the year, I noticed that a lot of the Tanzanians, like, let's say, who were working out here, and I'd have open, honest conversations with them, some of them were actually struggling big time, and they didn't want people to know that. And one thing I want you to know if you're Tanzanian in the United States or any other country watching this is, even with just a bachelor's degree, you have a lot of power in your country. Not power, power is probably the wrong word, but let's say ability to influence people. And that's something you have to value. And one thing, even for my classmates who did go home, some of them are very frustrated with the jobs that they were getting, because they're like, oh, I feel I should be here instead of here. Why am I in this company? Why am I in that company? And people complain all the time, but I think that's the problem. You know, we complain so much, but we never find ways to help and support the system to make everybody get better, you know? And that's my difficulty with, if we just took some time and sat down and said, hey, okay, I'm in this company, I'm in this organization, here's what I can do, and here's what I'll do after work. Because who says work has to be 8 to 5 p.m.? You could be working on your own project from 6 to 9. You know, you could be doing whatever you want. That's exactly what I did. You know, I'd go to work, and then after work I'd do my own projects, my own things that I want to focus on, you know, working on a business, whether it's working on something else. You have that time. And if you get anything from this conversation, I think time is your most important and valuable asset. You know, we all are given the same currency of time. It's what you're doing with your time. You know, my friends know me. I'm not the person to go outside and waste time, you know, doing something that doesn't bring me any value. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like to spend time with my friends, but I try to find things that add value to my life. If you're just going to tell me, oh, we're just going to hang around for 5 or 6 hours, I probably won't do it. And many of my friends know that, because I try to look at ways that I can be the most valuable with the time that I'm given. And if you're given time, you focus yourself and do whatever you want to do with that time. Every single morning, I have to tell you, not even every single day, I have a to-do list of items I want to get accomplished during the day. And this is some advice I give for you, because my productivity levels, the amount of things I was getting completed in a day, increased ridiculously. And I learned this from one of my roommates this year. He's just brilliant. Every single morning he's up at 6 a.m. even though he has class at 10. He gets all the things on his to-do list done. And I've just been in fond admiration of like how he's so focused and dedicated with the things he wants to accomplish in his life, and that's why he's so successful. And that's something I've definitely been doing in my own life, and figuring out, you know how important a to-do list is? Because often we say, okay, yeah, I'll do that, and then you realize a month later you still haven't done anything with it. Why? Because either A, you forgot, or B, it wasn't a top priority. But how are you going to prioritize things if you don't even remember them? And that's something I want to leave with you. So like, we have about 3 minutes left. I want to leave with you the importance of prioritization in your life, finding ways to prioritize things that matter to you, things that you value the most, and find ways to work towards them. You know, as fellow Tanzanians, I feel like we have a lot of obligation to support our country in many ways that we can. We've been fortunate to be given the opportunities we have been given, and this is why I want to go back to Tanzania. As I said, I want to finish my business degree, then I want to get my master's in public policy, and then move back to Tanzania, get involved in a couple entrepreneurship ideas that I've been working on, and then later look into policy advocacy. That's definitely something I want to do with my life, but it's one step at a time. Education is a big part for me. It's actually what I wrote about when I was going to Stanford, because I was fortunate enough to have some sort of sponsorship to go to K through 12 undergrad. I was also sponsored Stanford Business School. I'm an Africa MBA fellow, which means full tuition and associated expenses sponsored. And I think that's one thing that, you know, I feel very fortunate for, and that's why I said I feel like very indebted to a lot of Tanzanians, and people who are growing up in many different places around the world, and finding ways to help them out. As I said, I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers, and I'm happy with that. I'm still a young guy. I'm still learning many different things every single day. I've got a question from Evans Limo. What do you encourage the youth to reach the level as yours? So one thing I mentioned earlier, I think faith. My faith is the most important part for me, and I say that with everything that I do, and I do it in a way to glorify God, because I think I'm only here on this earth temporarily, and I've been fortunate to have that opportunity to hear God over everything for me. And so one thing I do is I try to seek counsel and wisdom, you know, from Him. I'm continually asking like God to teach me new things in my life. And the second thing I'd like to encourage you is ask questions. You know, I started off with the sentence saying, what do you have to lose? You really have nothing to lose. Like, you are given so many opportunities in your life, and things that you should not take for granted, because the time that you'll have with them will only come once, and you're going to look back in your life and be like, wow, I wish I did this at a younger age. And so I really try to push my fellow Tanzanians, wherever you are, just to value the things that you have in your life, value the relationships, value your family, because your family is the strongest asset you'll ever have and will always support you. And having those things valued in your life, and have people who challenge you and who look into like pushing you to do better. These are the sorts of people that you need to have around in your life, and these are the sorts of people who will make you better as a person. And so, that being said, I really encourage all of you to, if you take 3 things away from this, it's 1, what do you have to lose? 2, look for a support system, family, friends, mentors in your life, and 3, value your time, because you only get one shot out of this. You'll never get today back, you'll never get this hour back. But if I leave you with one thing, 3 things, I'd like to leave you with those 3 things. A big thank you for everybody for tuning in today. I really appreciate your time. Feel free to reach out to me. A lot of you have reached out to me on Twitter at Benji_Fernandes. Reach out to me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Benjamin Fernandes. It's also posted on the MyElimu site. So feel free to reach out to me there. I'm happy to answer more questions. A lot of you sometimes send me your resumes and so on, and I try to connect you with people. And if you have any other things that you'd like me to talk about, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to provide a supporting hand. And one thing I always get is, don't be afraid to ask me or reach out to me. A lot of people who message me on Facebook, I get about 15 or 20 messages a day on my public Facebook page, and people say, oh, I'm surprised that you replied to me. I don't think you should be surprised that I replied to you, because if one person helped me, it's the least that I could do to help you. And so feel free to reach out to me with questions. I'll answer you with what I can. Again, as I said, I don't have all the answers, and I know that. But thank you guys so much for your support. I wish you guys, sorry, there's a car passing by and it's making a lot of noise. But thank you guys all for your support. I wish you all the best. God bless you. Take care of yourselves, and kazi njema, work hard. Take care. Bye-bye.